سمند به سرعت باد است و به آرامش نسیم. مجهز به ترمز ABS، مجهز به سیستم تعویض کننده لوح فشرده، با امکان دسترسی به صندوق عقب و دریچه تعبیه شده برای قرار دادن چوب اسکی، همراه با خدمات ویژه کارت طلایی و ضمانت 3 ساله خودرو. سمند، یک تجربه برای احساس امنیت. سمند، روابط عمومی گروه صنعتی ایران خودرو.
Before I start talking about the car, I want to clarify a point. When I said this model could be considered a replacement for the Peugeot 405, I didn't mean it actually replaced it. As many of you know, the 405 was produced in Iran until just 3 to 4 years ago. What you are seeing on the screen is the very first model of Samand. This model was introduced in 2002. The first thing that stands out is the size and shape of the rear lights, which resemble European sedans from the 1980s. The large rear bumper gives the car a rather bulky rear appearance. At the front, the rectangular headlights and a bumper that blends smoothly with the hood create a clean, cohesive front fascia. Keep in mind, this is the early Samand model, the one that is no longer in production. I'm trying to give you a sense of how the Samand's journey began. This particular version was later replaced by the Samand SE, which remained in production until 2017. As I was filming, I even came across a typical Iranian traffic accident. You know how it is. Reckless drivers exist everywhere, and many treat public streets as if they are racetracks. Over time, Samand evolved into several variants. One of the more common versions is the Samand LX. From the rear view, you will notice updated taillights and a more refined trunk design. Everything feels more aligned and intentional. At the front, the vertically slatted grille and minor bumper tweaks give the car a more modern, polished look. If I had to guess what inspired this facelift, I'd say it reminds me of the 5th generation Volkswagen Passat, especially in its proportions and front lighting. The LX remained on the market until 2021. So I decided to begin with the very first Samand model, and I was lucky enough to find one. To my surprise, the car was remarkably intact, no major accidents, just a couple of small incidents over the years. As always, I adjusted the seat and jumped behind the wheel. The interior was extremely basic. The AC controls were mechanical, simple sliders for temperature and fan speed. If you look at the lower part of the center console, you'll notice a set of buttons. That's actually the car's built-in computer, which was considered a real innovation back then, although it wasn't working in this specific car. Back in the day, it could warn you about maintenance needs, oil changes, if the door is open, etc., using a voice warning system. I have to admit, the wooden trim on the dashboard and doors, even though it's obviously faux wood, looked quite nice for its time. If you are wondering about the price, this more than 20-year-old car is currently listed for around $3,000. Alright, let's move on to the Samand LX. I waited for the owner to bring his car out of the parking lot. Samands generally have two engines. One is the XU7, which we have already talked about. The other is the EF7, which was claimed to be the first Iranian designed engine. This 1.7-liter inline-4 engine was developed with the help of German engineers. The EF7 was designed primarily to run on CNG or compressed natural gas, but it can also operate efficiently on gasoline or what we call petrol. Even in extremely cold weather, it can start directly in CNG mode, which is a big deal in this type of engine. This 16-valve engine was engineered with a precisely mapped computer system to reduce noise and vibration, especially when idling. Whether it truly worked as intended, well, we should ask the owners. In terms of emissions, the EF7 is capable of meeting Euro 5 environmental standards. Again, I adjusted the seat and sat behind the wheel. To be honest, I was shocked. I didn't know the interior was almost identical to the early model. The only noticeable change was the AC control unit. Oh, and one more thing, the seat was electronically adjustable. I could slide it back and forth using a button. Quite an achievement. Unfortunately, I didn't get to drive either of the cars myself. I let the owners take the wheel and I simply enjoyed the ride. And I can tell you that the older model was perfectly fine. As I mentioned earlier, that's what a swift horse is all about.